Welcome. I'm Bill Wake. We're here looking at creating a new financial application that tracks money as pools and streams. And our starting point is focusing on streams. We put together something that lets us create a description of multiple scenarios, but we don't yet have a way to evaluate that. And so we're we're basically taking this tree of possibilities and we want to turn it into separate individual scenarios by working our way up from the bottom to the top. I don't know, I think of it as on the bottom, but from one end to the other, and kind of accumulating information and making choices and yielding alternatives. But we're to the point of dealing with our trees that currently they have leaves, and then they have composite nodes, that interior nodes that have children, and we don't distinguish between an and node and an or node. So our nodes either say everything in this list must happen, or they say exactly one of these things must happen. And since there's no distinguishing characteristic or behavioral difference, they get created as instances of this tree class, regardless of whether they're and or. And we're going to pull that apart today. And once we have that, I think we can finish building out the scenarios and then graph from our set of scenarios rather than from our original specification. And I think it'll solve a problem or two as well. Okay. All right, so let me kick off tests. We were talking about distinguishing and nodes and or nodes, and that's in, well, a concrete plan. And as I was pondering things, these noun phrases are not my favorites. And so I'm trying to come up with a better word for concrete plan. And I think it's actually scenario. And once I had that, I kind of searched around for something to cover our multi-scenario plan, another concatenated a noun phrase. And I think maybe we'll call that possibilities. I had thought of alternatives, but they're not exactly alternatives, but they are possibilities. Even if you only have one plan, you've got one possibility. So we're going to do some work to change some names. If the test ever runs, here we go. We'll change these names to reflect that insight. And hopefully that helps things a bit. Okay, so once we have the names changed, we'll go through and add extract out the difference between and or trees, and then apply them. All right, so let's start with this concrete plan. I'm saying should be a scenario, and I think that's like exactly the right term if I can spell it. Okay, so a scenario where you've taken Social Security and you've done this and you've done that. Okay. Did you find it at the end? Okay, a scenario contains items. I almost think that, well, I guess that I was trying to be more generic than streams. All right, let's go back to a scenario. Okay, concrete plan, this becomes a scenario. Why it's only showing that, okay. And now I'm gonna swap this word as well. And I think maybe the verb is build scenarios for one stream. So the way we want to try and read these is a scenario. Oh no, is I'd say built for one stream. We want it to be this plus this is a sensible description of a behavior. Okay. And a scenario built for multiple streams. I think concrete plans was kind of my verb name. I mean, my function name. All right. So, well, I think that's fine. But notice this plan now for scenario. I'm going to adopt another thing that some others use for unit tests, and it's the the word SUT. It's not a real word, but it's kind of an abbreviation for system under test or subject under test. And I think it lets us focus on the object we're really trying to test, which in this case is scenario. It's the one we're going to manipulate in the act section. So I'm going to rename these too. Yeah. Okay. And so if I had done it that way in the first place, when I hadn't named it any yet, it would have held up. Now our things started off as one thing and they became some concrete plans and whatever. But I think I like this. It's a little arbitrary. You got to get used to it, but it holds. Okay. And these other things are the stuff it knows. Okay, so let's make sure that's still good. And then somewhere we got a multiple scenario. Okay. Right. So we rename concrete plan to scenario. Yeah, I think once you have that habit of using it, then you automatically know what's the focus, and that it really is worth something, to your point. Yeah. All right. And then a multiple scenario plan, I said we'll call that possibilities. Okay, so. And I don't know, I'm not sure I'm violating his phrasing. I'm gonna. He suggests a, n, or some. I think because this is more of a collection kind of thing, it sounds better as plural. But we'll let that go. All right, so SUT. I'm also going to go back to snake case while we're modifying everything. Okay. I feel like we've been kind of pushing through. I don't know, almost think of it as like leaning too far forward. You know, because I feel like I wanted to get all the pieces of the shape of this application, the key classes in place. And so, like, I don't think, like, stream needs refinement and other things need refinement. And then once they're refined, then extension. And I feel like we left some of those behind. So, just briefly, like, whoops, stream, we have only one that's optional. So the only override that's possible is, you know, or non-override. We're treating a nil and last as saying take whatever was already in place. Okay, so I think there's some of that going on with our other stuff. Multi-scenario plan lost. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and this only has three things. Okay, and let's one more sub. Okay. Plan contents, I think maybe it could just become plan. Okay. Plan and sections. Okay, that seems reasonable. Project. And these, let's call them scenarios. Yeah, scenarios. and they are sets of scenarios. Okay, that clicks together. It sounds like the right thing. All right, so we've renamed multi-land scenario to possibilities. Multi-plan, multi-scenario plan. That was an awkward one. A little hard to spell possibilities too, but okay. All right, there. And this path of naming, I think it's very common for me to go down this path, like to get something going. I don't know the perfect name, but I know it's got to hold multiple scenarios. It's something like that, and so I'll slap nouns together and treat it fine and move forward. But I feel better when I find scenario or possibilities or other things like that. It definitely moves me on a good path. Okay, now we had a few more tests. Let's just take a look at those real quick. A plan leaf. Okay. Maybe this is makes a. Plan alternatives net is mag. Net of alternatives is max. This is going to change, so I don't know what to sweat it too hard. Concrete plans or stream. Wow, this is now scenarios. Okay, let's do the SUT thing. That's the helper. Well, we got to look at doing that too. All right, and then this, let's make this the SUT. It's the thing we're asserting on. And this one, I guess I would say it's the grandparent. And then I'm going to be a little more descriptive. GP for a grandparent variable was okay, but when you lose the variable name, okay. Would we say? So I don't know if I should call, I mean, I think result is really the thing under test. It's a little weird not to assert about the SUT. These are all about the array. And so that makes me want to inline it. But that's a little weird. Well, I'll keep considering. All right, and then this SUT for this. Most of the time, the thing I return is the thing I test directly, and so this is having to do a little work. All right. So those are scenarios. Oh, leaf might be the SUT. We're talking about this one. Yeah, I don't I don't think it is on that one. No, I mean the thing I'm talking to. I want to see. Do you have the build the right thing in the are the plans you're giving me? Yeah. So does Leaf build the right scenarios? Did I not rename this? Let's rename that too. Okay. I think that's mostly what we did. Improve test naming. All right. Since we're already paused. Let me go back to it. Is this the right one? Parenthesis set. Yeah. I mean okay, let's do that. Let's name this back to result. Okay, I don't feel so bad about putting a result in. Okay, and this is sut. Okay, is that better? Okay, we're checking an entry when we call scenarios on the sut produces the right result. Okay, that sounds good. Now this block of assertions, actually even including this let statement, right? I mean that's kind of annoying. All right, and then I'm go backwards. That was this one. Make entry. Okay, that one. Did I skip one? No. Sut. Okay, yes, this is the sut. Oh. You sly one. You're supposed to reject that. Thanks. Fortunately, my assertions are about array. Okay. Make or tree. All right, yeah, this one, that's the sut. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's the only one. All right. Yeah, would these be parameterized? I don't think so. They're all kind of producing different structures. I think by the time you built the 4 or 5 different things, it would kind of lose it. But this bugs me. All right. Okay. So what we're getting back is we're getting back a set of scenarios, and if what we're trying to do is we're saying one of those. Now I don't know why it's 0. Oh, they're all the same. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we could do something. Is the other one like that? Yeah. This scenario is for a stream. Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if I can take 2 scenarios. Well, ugh. Like, how do you know scenarios are equal? Well, I think the way you find out is you you run the simulation for 360 months or something, or what is that, 30 years? Yeah, okay, 360 months. um yeah, I'm just checking the boundaries on these, but if I'd said, oh, what I get back is two scenarios in a set, I should be able to put two other scenarios in a set and say, are you equal? And they should say yes. But I think I think I think I'll let it stand. Yeah, I'm definitely testing boundaries, because it was like month 6 they go up. I could probably test 5 too, but month 6 they go up. Month 12 it goes down, or end of month 12 it goes down. So 13 is down again. All right. Well, one more test file. So let's go ahead and do that too. Get them all straightened out. All right. At least this, I think. Well, we got set and naming. All right. So we're testing the stream. And I don't think this is like absolutely the most critical thing to do. The use of SUT. It has a cost that you have to kind of know the convention. Once you do, it's all right. On the other hand, just reading an individual test, I don't think I'm confused about what's actually doing the stuff. If I want to highlight, arrange, act, assert, I'll break it up into paragraphs and go from there. But the nice thing with like merged, I can emphasize this is how it got there, and I think that helps with the test naming, or the comprehension. Now I knew this was merged, and so I would better be able to figure out where 5, 12, and 500 came from. But on the other hand, it's saying merge. It's saying the word merge as the verb. Um, and I need verbs for these. Okay, I think that one's okay. Okay, and then what was the other thing? I guess determines amount, inside a date range and outside a date range. Okay. Okay, so there. I think our tests are definitely was worth 15 minutes or whatever it was, 20 minutes. All right. Now let's go, well, let's track this a little bit. How do I call this alternative? Handling alternatives. Okay, now we're going back to this one. That's true. I mean, it's a good thing overall, that you see SUT when you come back and you know exactly what's being tested. Right, and I think the ones you pointed out where I actually picked the wrong thing to call SUT, it it was clear that was wrong because sut is the thing that should be doing the action, and it wasn't. It was I used it for the capture of the result. And I also use result a lot. I don't always pull it into a separate variable and then assert on it. But if I do, I usually default to result as the name. So just more test convention stuff. I don't know. I should probably make a note somewhere. Okay. I think it improves them overall. I think snake case is a little easier to read maybe, but yeah. Okay. Distinguish and nodes from or nodes. All right. So this is our plan tree, right? And plan is still not quite the right word. Could be the possibility tree. That might be interesting. All right. But we'll live with the compound noun for now. All right. So plan leaf. It's not leaf, it's composite that's the troublemaker. But notice we did this thing of pulling out the constructors for the two separate things rather than making somebody make composite with the composite constructor with the right combining operator and all that stuff. That's going to be easy to fix. Okay, so I think we can do this in little tiny bites. Okay, we got class. Well, I'm going to use and tree and or tree for now. And tree is a plan composite, right? Yeah, plan composite. Okay, are you good? Hey, I lost Swift lint. Okay, we'll have to put that back into. I think it was when we tried to switch to an iPad project, and I had probably set up the other one for Swift lint, and we deleted it, but it's not hard to put back. Okay, right. So that should be harmless. I just created two classes we never reference. And I can even make them private, which I think is probably good in this case. Because I don't really want them to be... Well, no. I think we'll let that emerge. Okay, so now if I make this be an and tree, I'll need to give it the same constructor. And then I think actually, do I need to do that? Well, I can certainly call super init name and combining. Okay. So this thing is now making one of those, which ends up calling this anyway. All right, let's see if this works. That'd be a nice little step. Right, because up till now, nobody cares if they're a plan composite or a whatever. All right, now my question is, I always mix up between languages, like, do I have to have this? Well, I'll comment it for now. I think Swift will automatically provide an override. Yes, okay. All right, that's good. And now, if that worked for and tree, then or tree is not going to be any different. Okay, so this is it's refactoring to put something in place. I forget what people call it, preemptive refactoring. There's another phrase they like, but I know Josh Karievsky calls it nesting refactoring. You're building a nest for things. I think preparatory is maybe what Martin Fowler uses, but it's the idea that we could implement something and then go through some long refactorings to extract out and get to this structure, or we can just say, we're heading towards an AND tree and an OR tree. Let's just create them like this. And when you look at how much is going into them, right, there's not much in these things because our system doesn't distinguish them yet. It's happy to use them. It doesn't care if you're an AND tree or a composite or an OR tree or whatever. The only differences are in that operator, and that's set up in these constructor functions. Now, okay, so, well, yeah, let's take that. We've created AND tree and OR tree. All right, now, we changed names, so I got to think about it. Is it some possibilities? Or is it? It's on plan tree. Plan tree. Shouldn't that be scenario? No. That name sticks out as being awkward. All right. Yeah. So we got scenarios for the, yeah, that's it. We got scenarios for the AND tree, but we don't have any scenarios for the OR tree. All right. Okay. So if I make a leave and I've got income 1 and income 2, totally disjoint situations. Am I going to take job 1 or job 2? I make an OR tree with those 2 children, and the result is that builds the tree, and then if I ask it for the scenarios, I'm going to give it 1 scenario. Okay, so I have an empty scenario, and I say, what if you took job 1 or job 2? And then when I get back, should have 2 things in it because the scenario should turn into 2 possibilities because they're OR trees. So take all the existing scenarios and then repeat them for both these trees. So I don't know, maybe this would be good with 2. Let's start with 1. It'll be hard enough. All right. Well, my assertions aren't right. I expect. Well, the problem is I don't know which one I've got. All right. So I think. Well, I almost think scenarios should get names. I don't want to go into that one yet. What I've got is I've got a set of 2 things and they're different. And how do I know they're different? All right. I don't want to ask the contents. I just want to ask the net. All right. Let's if I want to say something like this. If array sub 0 dot net of 1 equals Yes, if an entry is given one scenario, it updates one scenario. If it's given two scenarios, it updates both of them because they've already split before it got to the and node, but maybe the and node is under scenarios or something. So I think ors always increase the number of scenarios, ands always keep it the same. All right, I'm gonna do something. I don't know. This may be too obscure. Equals if array net 0 net 1 net for month 1 is 0 goes to array sub 0 dot array sub 0 array sub 1. Otherwise it goes to array sub 1 array sub 0. I don't know if I'm being too obnoxious, but let's get through the test, get it failing properly, and then see if we can make it work. Okay, now I know the first entry, if there's a 0, the first entry has it. So I should be able to say assert equal, I don't know if this will work, net 1, net 6, net 13. Yeah, let's do 13. That thing should be equal to, well, if it's 0 in net 1, then it should be 0. And if it's 6, well, I'm making them backwards. That seems bad. Okay. If the net is 0, let's say not equals 0, array 0, array 1, array 1. Okay, so now we know x.net is not 0, so it should be 1,000. Okay, so this should be money 1,000. All right, and then in month 6, he should be making 1,000. And in month 13, he should only be making 0. Okay, because he's got a job for 12 months. All right, and then y should be 0 in month 1, 2,000 in month 6, and 2,000 in month 13. All right, and I can put these. Try and get them visually parallel here because I think it's moderately confusing. All right. Well, I think it's right. Okay, so I got to figure out which one of the set is income 1 and which one is income 2. So I'm sort of presuming the answer is not 0. I'm presuming it is 0 for income 2. All right, let's see how this works. It's going to fail. It's going to fail in 102 if nothing else. Some random value might be all right. Well, let's see the messages. Index out of range. Yeah, so there was only one item coming back. All right. I think that gets us at least through the first step of this. All right, and we've got our result. We've given it one scenario, we get it back, we expect to get two. All right, now let's go to implementation and just like this. Now I think let's let OR tree have its own implementation. I gotta say override. My children is inaccessible due to internals improvement. Okay. So now we're calling this one in this case. Now what should happen? All right, so we're given a bunch of scenarios, and however many there are, we're going to take however many children we have, and each one of those we're given is going to generate as many as there are children. So this is the combinatorics thing of it. All right, so so what I think we're saying is we're going to run through all the children. It's not a for each. I think it's more of a, it's more, we're going to generate new stuff, and in the end, we just want it all flat. So I think what this is going to be is a map. So if we take the children and map them, then we're given a scenario in something. Okay, now we know this won't work. Okay, so if we were to take each child, we'll capture that result. Yeah, I'm working on it. And we'll return result.flatMap. I don't know if I can do this without a transform. Okay, we'll come back to it. Okay, so if I'm given a scenario, how do I generate the children of that scenario? Well, I must apply each scenario. I must apply the child stuff to each scenario, all its things. Okay, so I'm asking the children for their scenarios. Let's see, the children, that's each child. Let's make sure I'm walking over the right thing. Yeah, so this is not scenario, it's child. All right, so given a child, I want to take those plans and then I want to map them to a new plan with the child added to it. Okay, so plans.map plan in, all right, sorry, plans, this gives me a scenario. Plans is not a good word, is it? All right. I don't know. It may just need refactoring in the end, but taking a scenario, mapping it, this is going to turn every scenario in the plan, every scenario is going to turn into a new scenario, and all those will be in an array because it's a map. And then all those will be in a big array because it's another map. Okay, and so that's why I want to do a flat map at the end there. But all right, so given a scenario and given a child, well, what's a child? He's a stream. He's an item. I guess maybe he's an item. Oh, we really need a better word for that. Should the children be inside the scenario loop? I think, well, the children are things like stream. They're either streams or they're more composites, you know. So if they're a stream, you know, I would take the stream and add it. All right. Um, but I don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to ask it to do the job for me. All right. So I'm going to say um, scenario, let copy equals scenario. Okay, I need a totally new copy of the scenario because every one of these is going to mutilate it different ways. So, I believe, if I've got the semantics right, Swift has these value semantics for arrays and hash tables and maps or dictionaries. And so when I do this, I'm making a fresh copy, and I want to say child, or yeah, maybe child is okay. Child, this is a plan thing in our tree. That thing needs to do some work. He needs to say child dot append. No. Oh, let's go back up to this one. We call scenarios for plans. Okay, so this should do child dot scenarios. I'm getting buried. For plans. Well, we can't just give it all the plans because yeah, maybe it's actually multiple. This is why it's confusing. It's two levels deep here because we've got some set of scenarios coming in. It's a set because somebody already did some OR node stuff. And now we have all these scenarios, and we're saying, hey, across all these scenarios, every one of them should have two more possibilities. And so each one of those existing scenarios is going to have a new possibility for the children. Now, I may be flipped around. Okay, so if I've got the child, I mean, somewhere I have to generate these new scenarios, one per child, right? Um, because it's saying it's got these scenarios across it. Okay, so he should child.scenarios. What scenarios should he work on? Well, maybe I got to do it this way. Let's pull this down. All right, I'm gonna make a map of like this. Okay, if I do this, what have I got? Well, now I have for every child I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a new map. No, I'm buried. What's a smaller byte? I mean, what I want to do is given maybe I do need to walk the other way around. Maybe the scenarios at the top level. For every existing scenario, I'm going to turn it into a set of scenarios based on that child. That does sound kind of right now. Okay. Dot something. All right. And something's going to happen. All right. And what's going to happen is we've got one scenario. And I want to make n copies of it. Let's say I have 5 children. I want to make 5 copies of it. And apply it to each child to each copy. Okay, so if I do children.map, I'm going to go the other way around. I'm going to map each child to all right, given children scenarios. Okay. And this is child in. Okay. You gave me scenarios. I want to make my copy. Copy equals scenario. And then I want to apply my child to it. But that's a set. That's why I'm getting balled up. One scenario, one stream contains an OR tree. So yeah, I'm imagining like our test case. We set up kind of the simplest scenario, right? One scenario comes in. I hate to reuse scenario, but our scenario was you're in this salary or that salary, and there's a OR tree there holding those two choices. And I pass you in a scenario. You should take that, and then I should get back a scenario for each one of my children. Is that right? So each one of my children, and I have to do this for every scenario that comes in. I've got those 5 children, and I'm going to say, and I've got I've got scenarios A, B, C, and I've got 5 children, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to have A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, B1, B2, B3, and so on. Scenarios. So I should take every scenario in there is going to have to generate a scenario for those child cases. And so he should map them. But what's he mapping onto? All right, somehow it ought to involve something. I mean, well, if I do this, okay, I'm saying, okay, so, hide these for a minute. Okay, so result, I want to be a set of scenario. Well, it's going to be a set of array of set of scenarios. Array of set of scenarios. So something's not quite right. So an OR tree has n different values, but it's not actually a tree. Well, it kind of is. Let's go back to the tree structure. I mean, composite tree has a list of children. That's kind of the composite's job. And so, I mean, this is not a binary tree, it's an n-ary tree where n can be different at each level. We don't care. We might look at 3 retirement plans versus 2 salary scenarios versus 5 something else's. Okay, so I think it's still a tree. All right, but I don't remember how to work flat map. Well, how about compact map then? Compact map. I don't want the. Let me find an example because I think I have to get this straight before I go too far down the road here. Straighten my head. I've read this article before. Okay, you go 1, 2, 3. You map it to int of whatever. And throw away anything that failed. Okay. Well, that's not really flat map. Okay. They'll tell me it's deprecated. Hopefully they'll tell me how to do it. Oh, Swift by Sundell. That's some good ones. All right. Yeah. Here's the kind of problem we have. We have double nesting instead of single nesting. Flat map. Strings. Hashtags. He's making it too complicated. Okay, discarding nil values. Okay, we don't really care about those. Map transforms, but flat map does the same thing. Yeah, flat map. Okay, this is not dealing with the fact that it's deprecated. Maybe this one's better. Transform then flat. That's what we're after. Number.map int $0. Wow. Yeah. I'm not going to get into monads. Well, flat map also, given a list of a list, turns it into a list of the insides of those lists. A list of set of scenarios. Can I do that? No. Oh, come on. I know there's a way to do this. A leaf cannot have a child. That's true. Well, I didn't look at this, did I? Numbers map. Right. To an array of stuff. Flat map of transform is equal to s of transform dot joined. Okay. So this is saying repeat each element the number of times you are. No. Okay. Aside from the complaint, what do you think? Set of scenario. Okay. I don't know why I got a deprecated warning before. Yeah, that's not. Okay, so am I there? Okay, so given a scenario, I want to copy that scenario because I don't want everybody modifying the same one. And for each scenario, throw that in and deal with whatever the child does. And what I'll get back is a set of scenarios. And after I get a set of scenarios for each child, and I'm doing this for each original scenario. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Let's see where we are. Set of scenario to type set of scenario. It's like I'm not quite flat enough. Just so I can look at the type. Kids are array of set of scenario. Well, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I have a simpler test. I've got two choices. Maybe okay. So at this point, I have kids as an array of set of scenarios. Um, well, the children could be trees too, though. So I I don't I don't know how much to. My picture of the trees versus adding these scenarios across everything. Is it a tree? But somehow it ought to be a tree because we're taking trees and turning them into sets, basically. Flattening them and turning them into sets. And if you give me a scenario, I should give you back two scenarios if I have two children. So child scenarios dot copy says take the original scenario and apply child to it. But map. Yeah, I'm just getting balled up, I guess. All right, so I think if I map a scenario for each child, yeah, it's got to be recursive, and that's that, right? That'll bring in the recursion. So I'm saying take all these scenarios and do whatever you got to do and give them back to me, but you should be giving me back a set here. Kids should be a set, and somehow it's a map, an array, because I'm mapping here. But I want to. Okay, I think what I need to do, I'm supposed to give it a set of scenario. Is there a map for a set? Can I Swift map for set? Okay, somebody else has the same question. That's good. Collections have a map which returns an array. Well, that's his version. Okay. There's no correct way to do it. Okay, so, all right. I think this is what I need to do. So you give me a bunch of scenarios. For every original scenario, I'm going to multiply it by 5. Okay, so I'm going to create for each child. I'm not even going to look at the child. I just want to make a scenario and return it. Okay, so I think I started down this path before once. I've done everything now. All right, I'm going to take your scenario. I'm going to make a new scenario for each child, and then I'm going to run the set on. I'm going to run the recursive call on those scenarios. So this is not. This is copied scenarios, or maybe independent is maybe even a better word. Independent scenarios. And I don't know if I can. Well, I'm screwing myself up because scenario doesn't have that, right? Okay, I think I'm getting there. Convert set to a dictionary and map over that. Well, I think I've got. I think map. Okay, scenario is a scenario, right? Not anymore. Okay, scenarios contains a set of scenarios. So the individual items are scenarios. All right, let's go look at scenario. Yeah, his dictionary needs to be copied. Okay, okay. I think what we need then is we need a second constructor that says, given this scenario, I'm going to build you a copy. And basically, I'm going to take items and make a copy of that and use that. Okay. I think so let's set this plan tree on hold for a moment. Okay. But I will say what I'm thinking is, all right, if I make independent scenarios, and then run through all those scenarios with child. That's not right. Okay, we got to be able to copy scenarios. Let's go do that. Okay, and I think that's it's worth a test. Okay, so um yeah, he's he's the sut. Okay. Oops, scenario. We'll build a scenario. We'll add a stream to it. Okay, so here's a perfectly good scenario. Now, if I say let result equal scenario of sut, it's a little weird. Would it be better to just say sut.copy? And if I take that and I add a different stream in, $2,006. Okay. And if I add this to result, okay, I'm gonna assert result dot. Okay, now this might be even better. Result.net of month one. Sorry, sut net in one should be $1,000. But result net one should be $3,000. Okay, so I'm creating a scenario with a stream in it, I'm copying it, then I'm modifying the copy, and those two things ought to be independent. So the original one should be untouched. The new one should contain both those incomes. Okay. And I don't know whether to make this a constructor or a copy method. I don't know what Swift people do. I mean, I suppose it's initializing. Yeah, let's make a scenario. Give it a second input. Other scenario. Well. Okay, so right now we have the no arg constructor, but we're going to add this one. All right, so let's do that. That means we have to be explicit about both of them. Init. And then init of other scenario. Okay, so this one will fail. Pass an array of streams. Well, I'd almost like a yeah. Pass an array of streams. Well, it's it's given a scenario. I don't think it can get a set. Well, I mean, you can get the set by asking for it, right? Don't we have a. Oh, no, it doesn't know the set. Yeah, he knows nothing about sets of scenarios. Yeah, but okay, so if you passed it an array, that'd be more of a copy thing. Well, let's go back. Let's peek over here. So we're gonna call it with scenarios, a list of scenarios. It's going to copy them. So you're saying if I passed in a scenario, yeah, you could probably, let's see, maybe that's the copy method. It says give me n copies of yourself in a set, and the n is the number of children, rather than mapping each one copy with your array. Well, I don't. I think this really is the heart of the and or thing. Why it should be quite so hard, I don't know. All right, but if I could copy scenarios, then I would generate a list of scenarios. I mean, I'd like to make copies. All I really want is n copies of this in a set of scenarios. Now, I don't think right now this is an array of scenarios. Well, now he's nothing. Um, yeah, definitely don't object to a copy that returns itself in a bunch of copies. So, yeah, let's switch this to that. Where did I put copy? Okay. Um, so this goes back to sut dot copies. I think he wants a count though, and that's all he's really going to do. He's just saying I need n separate copies, wherever this is, of the existing scenario. For any given scenario, it could be any crazy thing that's going on. I'm going to take that and I'm going to produce n copies, and then I'm going to apply my child to each one of those n copies. Now, I don't know if there's a way to do that in one swing. Yeah, I get twisted around. Okay, so he's got to have, the child is going to take some scenarios and figure out his consequences for each choice. You apply each child to one of the copies. Yeah, we want to apply each child to one of the copies for a given scenario. Because if you have multiple ones coming in, there's already choices made, and you need to make sure every combination gets in. Um, okay, so let's get the scenario test right first. And I think if you have 5 children, I want to get 5 copies of this thing. All right. which all I'm asking for is copies. Okay, copies 2. Reach out to one of the copies. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so makes independent copies, I think, is the real core of this. All right, and so copies is going to be an array or a set. All right, I'll simplify the test and make it one copy. I'm trying to get the interface I want, but the simplicity to test this. Okay, so I give you this. I say, give me a copy. You give me back copies dot first. Okay, which a set has too. Okay, and because there's only one thing in it, it should only have one first, and then these two should have different things. Okay, now copies. Let's get it right. Take this back out. Copies. Well, it's a func. And count int. And it produces a set of scenario. Okay. Now, we're going to do one dot less of count. So for each one of those, sorry. For this range, 1 to count, we'll map each one to a copy. What result equals that. Return result. I don't know if I can say set of result. Okay, and then we're not even going to look at the number. We don't need it. We're just counting things. Okay, I'm going to make a scenario. Okay, what new scenario equals scenario. And then, boy, I think I want that. Well, I would say no, it's not going to return itself. It's going to return, it always returns a new scenario. But I'm admittedly fuzzy, but I think I'm seeing here is that we want to say scenario self. We do want those initializers back and forth. Okay, so init, like we have, is simple. Init of other of scenario is self dot init. Isn't it how you do that? And then Did I need this to be convenience? I guess. And then I'm going to say items, let copy equal items, other dot items. And then self.items equals copy. I don't know if I have to do that. Yeah, I don't think we don't really need identity on those scenarios per se. I don't even know if they're structs. But I think you're putting in a bunch of scenarios and you're getting out a set of scenarios, and if somebody reused one or they threw it away and they gave you a new one that looked identical, like you shouldn't really care. And I'm not sure the ID thing is needed for this if they need to be identifiable. Yeah, because I really don't know if they do, because mostly what we're going to do with scenarios is we're going to graph them, at least for now. I think we also may want to keep the list of these scenarios around and manipulate them, find some way to talk about the ones to keep or whatever. But I think this is a fair copy. I think that's what this is. And maybe this just becomes scenario of self. Okay. Yeah, you would. I think we'll have to see how it plays out, but we do have to make sure it's either kept or removed. If it's kept, it's going to be modified, and if it's removed, that's fine if it's got the right combinations in there. Okay, so to make a copy, to make n copies, run through this list, generate an array of scenarios, and turn it into a set. All right, I think that's okay. And I think I've gone too far. Where's the scenario? Copies. Okay, I've made it pass, so I'm going to just, if true, return self. So let's not make any copies. Let's just return ourself and return array of self or set of self. Okay, so you want one copy. Whatever you ask me for, I'm giving you one copy. One element. Okay, I'm hoping this fails. A scenario. Didn't quite want that much failure. Result stream 2 was never used. Thank you. That wasn't the beep though. Cannot find child. Yeah, you're useful at this point. Okay. Let's return set. Okay, I don't mind if he complains. I'm trusting scenario right now. All right, so let's test this one. Good. Okay. Yeah, this is what I expect. We've modified the original and not made a separate copy. Okay. So that's why we can't just take the same one multiple times. We have to really generate new ones. All right, well, let's make sure I'm passing. Take this out and then run that again. Oh, unexpectedly found nil. Oh, let's do ... One ... count. All right. So let's capture this and then we'll take a break. Make scenario able to make independent copies. Okay, so I think that's the tool that's going to let us do this other one. I'm still floundering a little, but make sure that's good. All right, let's take a break. 3 or 4 minutes. I think we're closer. We'll have to work through the stuff for this, but I think that will simplify this, and hopefully by being simpler, it'll make enough sense that I can carry it through. All right, see you in 3 or 4 minutes. Welcome back. Okay, let's look at the test and then we'll just do it. Okay, so we're going to make 2 possible scenarios, job 1, job 2, and we create an OR tree to hold them. And then we start saying, well, if I start off with one scenario, what do I get when I ask you for the scenarios in these cases? And you're going to say, well, you get, we should generate somehow 2 scenarios because there's 2 possibilities. I mean, it should be 2 times whatever this is. And those scenarios, we'll get them back and look at them. Okay, there ought to be 2 of them. And we'll figure out one of them ought to have a 0 for month 1. Well, one of them ought to not have a 0 for month 1, and the other one should. So we'll put those in order so we know that the first one is not 0 and the second one is. I don't know, that seems backwards to me, but okay. And knowing that, if we look at the first one that does not have 0, we got month 1. When it starts, it should have 1,000. In month 6, in that scenario, we are only taking job 1, so it should also be 1,000. But by month 13, job 1's over and we're down to 0. The other one, month 1, we haven't started yet. Month 6, we finally start, and month 13, we're still running on job 2. Okay, I think that's a pretty reasonable test, about as minimal as you can be and still have a choice. Okay, now plan tree. Okay, so whatever scenarios you come in with, maybe that's the simplification I want first. Okay, I don't want to worry about scenarios and flat map. I'm going to say, I need some copies. Let independent scenarios be scenario.copy well, count. Okay, where count is children.count. Nice guess. Okay, so well, let's just hard code it. Scenarios.first. Okay, so for now, our test our test only has 1, so we're just going to hard code the assumption that it's 1. This should be a scenario. Did I call it copies or something? Yes. Okay. So I've got the independent scenarios, but I don't have them. Hmm. I honestly kind of want them as an array. Thank you. Copies. Yeah. Let's make that happen. Okay. I'm going to make this array of scenario. And just return result. Well, I don't need to just say return, just take the result of the map. Okay, and a scenario doesn't care. Well, our test will blow up, but the others should be okay. Okay. So, right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now I need to go through the children, but I need to pair them up with the right copy. Okay, so I'm going to do children dot enumerated, and it turns enumerated turns them into count an element. Foo in. Hopefully this will wait. Enumerated. I gotta look. I never can remember if the count is first or the pairs nx. Okay, so it is first. All right, so this is n and child. All right, so we're taking, I want to match up to the copy here. And, well, what's the other way I can do this? I'll do it this way and then we'll come back. All right, so I want to say, well, we need to call child.scenarios, and we're going to give it independent scenarios sub n. Okay, so, and we'll put that in a set. All right, so we get each child, run it on one of those n scenarios, and I'm getting back this, I think, is result. Well, it's result as an array, I guess. Set of scenarios. Okay, and then return. Yeah, there is a zip. That was my where I was almost going to say. Okay, but if you have those things running on their independent scenarios, you get back a list of sets. I don't know if I, is that a flat map? Flat map. Okay, I'm trying to return a set of scenarios. Missing parameter for... And my problem is I've got too many. I've got a list of them. I don't know. I think it's almost like this. Is that not right? He's an array of scenarios. We could do the zip. I don't know if that's less confusing or not, but the flat map is not right. Or do I just have to make it a set? Okay. No, but I don't think it matters. Yay. Okay. Let's try the zip. So we got these copies, and then we got the children. So we should be able to say zip children with independent scenarios dot map, and then the map gives us a child, well, child and scenario in, and then we want to call child dot scenarios with scenario. I mean, it's definitely nicer. Yeah. Okay. I think that is nicer. Scenario. Oh, yeah, that's going to become part of the loop. Okay. So make our copies, one for each child. I think we can inline that. We don't really reference count again. Okay. Copy one new scenario, copy the existing scenario you're working on, one per child. Give each child the corresponding scenario. They're all the same, but they're independent. And then we call child on each of those scenarios. That gives us, I think it gives us a set of things. Array of sets. Okay, and if we map it, flat map it, it becomes an array of scenarios instead of an array of sets. Go back. Yeah. Okay, so an array of scenarios, we can turn that into a set easily. Okay, but yeah, zip's nice. It's good call. All right, that handles the case of where there's only one initial scenario. Okay, but let's take it. All right, so make an OR tree able to give back multiple scenarios, but only works for one incoming scenario. And that's just where we are. Okay. Now, let's make a bigger test. Is it going to get too obnoxious? I mostly don't care about what these sets are. All right. Let's make I don't know, can I call them blue and green or something? Would that help? I want to make something with multiple scenarios coming in. Okay, I think I can do that. Although I'm not getting the full nesting capability yet. Scenarios, multiple scenarios for an OR tree. All right, so let's work on our scenarios. Scenario 1 is scenario. Scenario 2 is scenario. I don't think I need to care. All right, let's do scenario 2 dot add stream annuity for 500 a month. Okay. And then this is scenario 1, scenario 2. Okay, so in scenario 1, we're saying we're doing a what if. One side has nothing extra, the other says we added an annuity. Multiple scenarios for one child. I think that's what this is, right? We've got. Oh, I think you're saying the leaves are not. The first test was. I don't know if I can draw a picture with my hands. The top node is an OR node, and then the children are each a leaf. We haven't done a test where like one of the children is an AND or an OR. Maybe an OR is the interesting one. But we could do a test where there's a leaf and then another node that's an OR node with two more leaves. That would be fine. But I think that's more verifying that we're doing the right thing, which is fine. I mean, this is complicated enough. But I think this case that I'm starting down is saying, hey, you're supposed to run through and make copies of each scenario and one for each child. And so this one is starting with two separate scenarios that have already been generated, so who knows how, and saying, okay, generate these things, and the count should be 4. And And so there should be the end result of this should be four cases. One is no annuity and either 1,000 or 2,000 a month, and then the other is a 500 annuity and either 1,000 or 2,000 a month. So we I'm going to make this simpler here just to make the assertions more limited. Okay, so now we haven't said the month, so it applies to all months. So we can just grab any of them. We don't have to check for boundary conditions like we did with the first one. But this one, so I think, well, I think result is a set of scenarios. So result.count should be 4. I don't know if we need the array. Okay. And then if I were to say result where a Boolean value indicating whether the sequence contains one that satisfies the predicate. Okay. $0 is the scenario. Dot net in month 1 equals money 500. No, is that right? I don't think it is. Okay, so scenario 1, you get nothing. And you add either income 1 or 2. So this is 1,000. So somebody should be 1,000. All right, and this is XCT assert true. True. Assert true. And I think I can say this. Okay, so there ought to be one that has 1,000. There ought to be one that has 2,000. Then there ought to be a 1,500 and then a 2,500. Okay. All right, so two scenarios, pre-existing scenarios. One of them has nothing, one of them has an annuity. So 2 choices times 2 choices should be 4 choices. And it's either nothing plus 1,000, nothing plus 2,000, 500 plus 1,000, or 500 plus 2,000. Okay, and this should fail. The 4 should fail. Because our code only assumes once. Okay, yeah, so we took the first scenario and we generated 2, but we don't take the second scenario. Okay, because this only does scenarios dot first. Now, I think what that means we need to do then is iterate over the scenarios. So for each scenario, we're going to generate 2 possibilities. All right, so scenarios dot, and then I guess I'm saying it's a map. We're going to take that scenario and do something to it and produce something. The something is a set. Okay, so this is scenarios dot map, and all this okay, let values equal that. A scenario in. Okay. So somehow we have to involve a scenario. Well, a scenario, that's this. Okay. Well, okay. So, come on, just tell me what it is. All right. So I've got a set of scenarios. Well, that's what an array of sets of scenarios. That's what I had last time. And so I need to do another flat map. And this is why I think it's kind of, it feels one level too deep to make sense of. I'll say final. Well, result is my final result. Okay, but this, I'll call it scenarios. No, can't use that name. Let scenarios for children okay. All right. Okay. I don't know if it's seen magic. Usually I can't type 6 things without making a mistake. Now nobody's using this. Okay. So what's, I mean, even, well, what this is a doubly nested loop. And it's like, wow, even a doubly nested loop is kind of crazy. We could remove the variable. I don't know if there's a way to make a set out of that. I don't know. Wouldn't that be nice? It would help. Or if I had a flat map that produced a set. Can you zip the children with arrays of scenarios? Yeah, it certainly seems like we shouldn't need 2 flat maps. Okay. So the result of the middle map, the 102 map, right? That thing is an array of sets of scenarios. We flat map it and we get an array of scenarios. And then we turn it into a set so we can flat map it again. What if we take this set out? Yeah, we'll need to extract a function. But okay. Now what if I take this one out? Set of scenario. What if I move it down? Interesting. See, I don't know if I can get it small enough to convince myself that I don't need an independent function. But it would be nice to say like this, right? This body if I'm going to have it twice, it probably makes sense to have it up here and let the function deal with it. But the challenge is we're bouncing back and forth. Maybe set is just the wrong metaphor. I mean, it is a set, but I don't know. All right, let's make sure this still works. Okay. Well, I I used a set because um, basically what I was thinking was you have this complicated what we're calling possibilities object, and what is it really? It's really a set of possible scenarios. But the way we're using them, I don't think there's anything set like about it. Um, okay, I think there's two things we can do. Um, One would be, well, let's check this in. Okay, because we make or tree support sets of scenarios coming in. All right, so that's good. It's only 5 clicks because I got to close that. Okay, so um, I think if they were lists, I don't think life would be any different. The only thing is, like a list, I mean, a list sort of implies order is important, and it's not really. But just saying it's a list of stuff, and if you get an OR tree, you got to take that list. I'm still jammed up on this double loop if it's the right things on the outside. Like, what if you just said for every child? Okay, we're saying for every existing scenario, you should work out all the child possibilities based on that. Okay, that seems okay. All right, so I think the two choices are the, well, one thing I note is right now we build up this scenario, the list of scenarios or set of scenarios, and we don't do anything with it. Okay, so the question is who's the consumer? And the answer is, well, it's probably going to be something with plan list view, and it's going to be wherever our chart is. Content view, of course, yeah. So right now we got plan.project, but I think what it should produce, I don't think plan should be doing any projecting, right? Because plan's got possibilities. He doesn't have scenarios. And we want to chart scenarios. For each scenario, generate all the line stuff. And so one thing would be this project function really belongs on, well, it kind of really belongs on sets of scenarios. And maybe this is a scenario set, but it's not actually holding a set, it's holding an array. We don't care, it's not our business if we act like a set. Yeah, you're right. There's multiple scenarios, multiple children. There's going to be two loops. The thing is, if I can get it down, I mean, this is like if we got rid of the sets, I think the flat maps would be either easier or go away. It's interesting. Maybe we flat map twice, but I think we could almost do it simpler. Like if we got rid of these two lines and folded this one into here. Now it's like 3 lines or 4 lines with the outer loop. You know, it's like, well, that's not really so bad. You know, so I think one task would be, let's work through the consequences of making a list of scenarios instead of a set of scenarios. Or maybe we create this object set of scenarios, scenario set, that actually holds a list, and we make things work in terms of scenario set. That pushes one of these maps, it pushes one of these loops into scenario set. So that would be a valid thing to do. We probably have maybe time. We have time to start it. I'm not sure we have time to finish either one. The other one would be, hey, we want scenario set to project, and he's going to project a bunch of net worth data from the scenario set. This is why we had to worry about max before in our tree. The reason we have max is so we can produce that set. But in because we didn't know what to do with the children when we had multiple scenarios. Well, now we have actual scenarios. Each scenario stands on its own, generates its own net data and all that stuff. And so there's no reason to combine them in any way and worry about should it be the max or the average or the this or the that. We're going to take the possibilities and generate the whole set of things. And we're not combining separate scenarios in any way. Now, maybe we should somehow, but we're not. Okay. So that task would be it would be moving project over to scenarios. In effect, each scenario would make its own projection, and the other one would pull it all together. Copies takes, scenario would hold a loop. Yeah, so it might, I mean, that might be a good move to do, but already, like, what the signal I get, right, from scenario, where is it? Nope. Plantry. Right? The thing we're passing in here, right? We passed it in as kind of a raw set of stuff. And we're talking about changing it. Maybe it should be an array of stuff. Well, we've already changed this decision once then, maybe more than once, because we all started off with the plan tree working out the net worth things. So that sort of is an indicator that, like, set of scenario is a domain concept, and it kind of is. It's saying I hold the set of possibilities. The actual set. Now, I don't think it's possibility's job to know that. Although it might. Maybe it is. I don't know. But maybe we should pull this into its own object, and then the decision about iterating over it and all that, that's something we can delegate to that object. Well, kind of. But maybe, does this belong on that object? On the scenario object, I mean. Scenario is given, I guess, given a list of children, and you're a scenario, then you ought to produce a list of scenarios. I don't know, the flat map may not go away even then. All right. But he could do it, and it wouldn't be 2 flat maps in a row going like, what? All right. Let's go down that path. I think we'll encapsulate this into an object, and then flip its representation and kind of work out some consequences. asking the question to me is scenario should scenario know about children and all that? I'm not clear. But let's map it and see. Okay, so let's I think we'll put it in set of scenario for a while. I mean in scenario for a while. So this is class scenario set. Which a scenario set sure sounds like a lot of possibilities to me too. Let's look if we can move that back. To possibilities. He's definitely doing that. Ponderings. That's where I'm stuck today. Scenarios. Why is he doing this? It's because content wants it. Content view wants it. Give me the possibilities. All right, let's make this different. Okay, so he wants to know, well, where's scenarios used? Okay, that's only used here now. Right. Okay, maybe we're I don't know. I'm going to move it to scenario set. It feels like scenario set sure sounds like a list of possibilities, and like, is that what possibilities should be? But I think just to get through it, right. So scenario set, type untype, type untype, set. All right, it's its own thing. It's going to have um, scenarios. Um, well, let's get him in there with set of scenarios. Okay. I don't know, we might pass it in too. All right, so he's got that. All right, so I'm going to take the easy way out for now, and then we'll encapsulate it. Okay, so he would like a scenario set. Let's just get the input side first. All right, now method does not override any method. Oy, oy. Okay, so this needs to be scenario set. And cannot return expression of type scenario set. Right. Okay, so let's call it set. Okay, and set dot scenarios is a set. Okay, so that much is okay. Scenarios. Okay, so I'm doing the like little minimal version of this. Plans is set. I don't know that name. Can I use the same name? Set's in red. That's a bad sign already. Boy, it's a lot of scenarios. Okay. A scenarios dot map. Okay. I mean, I'm doing it the slow way. We won't finish it, but today, but we're getting this thing put in, and it's in a couple of places. So now we've got callers. So let's build that. Find out who the callers, what they want. Plan composite does not conform to plan tree, right? Because he already mentions this. And now that's his scenario set. Can I convert set of scenario? Right. He shouldn't need the set. And then same thing. Oh, yay. It's the problem with recursion. Like you change something at the top and everybody has to adjust. All right, the problem is we want a scenario set built from this scenario. Well, I don't know if that's driving another constructor in. Okay, so we have init, and then we have init with a scenario. Right now it's just one scenario. Okay. All right, that should be okay. Scenario. All right, now I'm going to change my mind. Okay. And I say equals this. All right, now back to that one. This needs to be a list. And actually, I don't think he's a set. I think he's a list. Yeah, array. Is that going to work? Okay, so now this is scenario set with these things. Okay, so this is very limited encapsulation. Yeah, that's really the thing. We don't know which way we'll be doing it. I mean, we're very suspicious that it seems like set is overkill for this, but let's get it in there. Now, I say it's semi-encapsulated because yes, it's in here, but then people are accessing this. All right, so let's make sure this runs. Yeah. Find symbol allocating a nit. How about this? Right. Of that. Ah, wrong one. Yeah, and I think realistically, I think array is going to be sufficient because we don't. I mean, what does set give you? It's like if you're doing unions and stuff like that, that's helpful. If you really want to show you don't care about order, all you can do is iterate over them or search them. That's okay. But they're kind of hard to just grab something and know what you got. All right, but we don't have to care. So, okay. So now, well, commit this. Okay, introduce scenario sets. Okay. And now anybody who's calling scenarios, we're going to look at them very suspiciously because we want to really encapsulate that. And if they want to go through it, they should ask us for something. All right. So let's find accesses. All right. So here's scenario. Oh, that's us. Okay, good. All right. There's scenarios, original for each, add stream. What's stream? Oh, he's a leaf. He owns a stream. Well, I mean, if we said scenario set dot add stream and he did the job, that would be nice. What else does anybody else do? Original scenarios. Well, now we're getting back. We're getting back to a set. All right. Let's oh, can we say as set? I guess the thing is like is this producing a scenario set? I think it should. All right, let me check these other two. This one we're mapping for some crazy complicated thing. Oh, same function. Okay. So I think who calls this? You you want me to ask the protocol? Who calls that? Not a lot. No, that's not the only one because possibilities does. Find out scenarios. There's ScenarioSet. Okay. Well, let me identify a next step. Okay, so I think the next thing to do is make these results, losing them. All these guys that do this in a return, they probably should return a scenario set. Okay, so use scenario sets for return values. But I think this thing up here, the add, that's kind of interesting to me. I think scenario, basically this becomes a method on scenario set that says walk through all your scenarios and add this stream to them. See, I don't even think we're going to ask. I think when all is said and done, the reason we're returning this set is because we want to ask it for all the net values in the graph. We don't ask anybody. I mean, right now we ask the possibilities for that sort of pseudo graph thing, but we'd use that max operator to compress all those possibilities into one value. Now we want to return the actual multiple values. And I think we're going to ask scenario set for the chart data, basically. And that should be good. So yeah, I think tomorrow we'll change these return values to scenario, let's say that up here. Change return values set of scenario to scenario set, and use scenario set to graph all scenarios. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going tomorrow. All right. Well, tomorrow is 2 to 4:30 Eastern Time, 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. And I hope you can join. Thanks so much, Shark666, for all the feedback and comments and ideas. It's great. Very helpful. All right. Have a good evening. I'll catch you tomorrow or some other time. Bye-bye.